Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Endangered Species Paint With Me series. This week we are going to be talking about a conservation effort that is incredibly close to my heart, so you're going to have to excuse me if I get a little bit emotional. I'm sure that this voiceover is going to require many attempts, but I shall do my best to get through it so that you can understand everything that I'm hoping to talk about today. This week we are going to be focusing on the critically endangered mountain gorillas in Virunga National Park in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and the rangers that have literally put their lives on the line to keep them and the rest of Virunga National Park safe during a time of destructive civil war and political unrest. This particular episode in the series may be difficult to take in, as there is a lot of information surrounding this incredibly difficult, complicated, and multifaceted issue. It actually provides us a fantastic example of what we can do on the other side of the globe to help save endangered species aside from just recycling. So I hope that you all will stay with me for this very personal topic, and let's go ahead and dive in. Before we start to take a look at the situation surrounding the mountain gorillas, let's learn a little bit more about these amazing creatures. Mountain gorillas are one of two subspecies of eastern gorillas, with the other being the eastern lowland gorilla. The two subspecies have been geographically separated from each other for over 400,000 years. The gorillas that we are used to seeing in captivity and in zoos are western lowland gorillas, which, while they are still critically endangered, are doing far better than their eastern cousins. There are thought to be around 100,000 western lowland gorillas left, but there are only less than 5,000 eastern lowland gorillas and just 800 mountain gorillas in the wild. While western lowland gorillas are relatively common for us to see in captivity and have greatly enhanced our human understanding of these amazing primates, you have literally never seen a mountain gorilla in person unless you have been to the volcanic mountainsides of Central Africa. The only mountain gorillas in human care in the entire world are a handful that have been orphaned and are under the care of a select few rangers who protect them in Virunga. Mountain gorillas are distinguishable from their lowland cousins as they have thicker, longer coats, particularly on their arms, that enable them to live in cooler climates. The males weigh nearly twice that of females, weighing in at about 430 pounds, and are further defined from their female counterparts by the larger bony crest that elongates their heads, particularly their foreheads. When they're standing tall, males can be over 6 feet tall with arm spans of over 8 feet wide, and despite being equipped with extremely powerful jaws and sharp canine teeth, these particular features are only for show, protection, and fighting, as otherwise they are herbivores and eat only plant material. They eat primarily leaves, stems, but also bark, roots, flowers, fruits, and occasionally small invertebrates. Mountain gorillas, like other great apes and humans, are highly social. They live in relatively stable groups that are held together through male and female bonds, although the females within each group don't have as strong bonds as that between the males and the females in the group. About 2/3 of groups have a single silverback male leading several females, although the remaining third of the population has little groups with more than one adult male. A small percentage of the population are either single male gorillas on their own or consist of male bachelor groups. Most males and over half of females will leave their group that they are born into, but they don't leave until they're between 8 and 11 years old, with females leaving earlier than males. As far as their demeanor goes, these gentle giants are generally very docile and shy. Mountain gorillas, again like other great apes, often reinforce their social relationships through grooming, which helps keep them clean and free of parasites. Silverback males usually only become aggressive when they are approaching another troop of gorillas, and conflicts are most often resolved with displays and threat behaviors. However, if things become physical, it will often lead to a fight to the death between the two males. Now, I am going to be completely honest in that this topic did not win the popular vote in my poll for my patrons to decide what animals I would be doing for this series. However, this episode was so important to me that I ended up just lengthening the overall episodes in the series so that I could fit it in here. My reason for doing this video, aside from, as I mentioned before, something that is near and dear to my heart, is that the zoo that I used to work for has been carrying a very big torch for Virunga and their rangers in the name of the mountain gorillas since 2006. I first became aware of these efforts when I became a full-time zoo educator in 2010, and I have been involved in raising awareness and funds from that moment forward. So let's have a little bit of a discussion about the history of the area where these mountain gorillas live so that we can better understand the plights that they are facing today. Approximately 25% of the mountain gorilla population resides in Virunga National Park in the Democratic Republic of Congo, or as I will refer to it from here on out, the DRC. In addition to mountain gorillas, Virunga is also known for its exceptional biodiversity and has species like hippos, elephants, okapi, and more. The park protects more species than anywhere else on the continent of Africa. It is roughly equivalent in size to 3 of the states of Rhode Island here in the US, or just shy of the entire size of the island of Puerto Rico for my international viewers. The park was established in 1925 by the King of Belgium. Now, at this time, it was the Belgian Congo, not the DRC, and it was established primarily to help protect, actually, the mountain gorillas. Even back then. It is Africa's oldest national park and a UNESCO designated World Heritage Site as of 1979. It is currently managed by 3 different entities, which is the Congolese National Park Authorities, the ICCN, and the Virunga Foundation. During its first 35 years, the park was actually relatively safe from poaching and sustainable tourism thrived there. However, in 1960, when Congo was granted independence from Belgium, the country deteriorated rapidly, as did the park. The history of the Congo is really long and complicated, and it's not something that I'm an expert from. I'm going to refrain from diving too deep into this conversation, but I did want to give you a short summary, and when I start to list these things, it's going to sound long, but I promise this is the condensed version. The state went through the Congo crisis from 1960 to 1965, after which a change in power resulted in the formation of the Republic of Zaire in 1971. This was led by an apolitical government until 1990. At this time, directly following the Cold War, the president allowed the formation of other political parties, but factions and a dire economical situation led to the First Congo War and eventually the overthrow of President Mobutu. Kind of simultaneously, in 1994, Rwanda's genocide resulted in more than 1 million refugees coming into Zaire that placed great pressure on the forest and the national park. Zaire collapsed in 1997 and was reinstated to the DRC, and just a year later, the Second Year Congo War began, which officially lasted until 2003, though the aftermath continued for several years more. As I mentioned, this was a condensed summary of all the political unrest that has been active in the Congo since the 1970s, and of course it is an incredibly complicated occurrence that affects the people as well as the wildlife in this area. But jumping forward to 2012, a UK-based company called Soko International began exploration in Virunga to exploit its oil. In 2013, the World Wildlife Fund raised some very serious concerns about the irreparable damage to habitats, increased poaching, and the added pollution regarding drilling for oil in this World Heritage Site that is home to over 25% of the critically endangered remaining mountain gorillas. In 2014, a critically acclaimed and Academy Award-nominated documentary titled Virunga was released on Netflix and is still there and available for you to watch at any time if you'd like more information on this particular issue. It follows Virunga and the struggle with Soko, poachers, and the political climate of the DRC, but in my opinion, one of the most incredible factors in this entire conflict is the park rangers who, despite all of this, remain in the park to protect the gorillas and the other wildlife. Backing up a tad to 2007, tragedy hit the park when an illegal charcoal mafia murdered an entire family of mountain gorillas within Virunga. Their motive? Well, if there were no more mountain gorillas, then there'd be no more reason to protect the park, and they could be going along with their business. This event was a catalyst for a completely comprehensive reform program, restructuring and strengthening the rangers to effectively protect the park's wildlife. Despite the terrible unrest that the Congo has faced over the last several decades, mountain gorilla populations are actually slowly rising in tremendous thanks to the rangers led by park director and Belgian Prince Emmanuel de Merode, who in 2008, after swearing allegiance to the Congolese government, became the only foreign national to have judicial powers in the DRC. As an aside, I had the immense honor of meeting him in person when he came to my little zoo here in California in 2012 to thank us for the efforts of fundraising over the years. He proved to be a humble, inspiring, and kind man, just as he appeared to be in all the thank you videos that he and his rangers had sent us in prior years. As you can imagine, protecting Virunga is so far from an easy task, and walking amongst the poachers and militia that they face on a daily basis have cost over 150 rangers their lives over the past 20 years in order to protect the park. In April 2014, Emmanuel himself had an assassination attempt on his life when his vehicle was ambushed between the road between two cities within the park. He was shot multiple times in the chest and the abdomen, but by some miracle he survived the attack and was able to flee the scene. He survived emergency surgery and is still protecting the park to this day. The motives for the attack were investigated by the Congolese authorities, and media reports cited a number of factors that could have contributed, such as suspects from those who illegally collect the charcoal to Soko International to the factions in the area that are upset about the political unrest. The balance of conservation is a difficult one. The humans who are destroying the park and poaching Virunga's diverse wildlife are doing so because of their own population's unrest, and there are no simple solutions here. Virunga in particular has so many different factors in it that it's hard to know where to start. However, conservation issues are being tackled on all fronts, including increasing patrol, removing illegal snares that are intended for the elephants for the ivory trade but also catch other animals, conducting gorilla census to monitor the populations, expanding areas of the park to protect habitat loss, enacting distance requirements that humans must maintain from gorillas in order to reduce the risk of transferring diseases, better managing ecotourism, and increasing education for local communities on interacting with wildlife to help reduce the impact on livestock and farmland surrounding Virunga. Today, I am happy to say that relative stability has returned to Virunga, and last year, I believe, or maybe the year before, the park actually reopened to ecotourism, but it's still in need of global support, as history has taught us that it could easily fall into unrest once again very quickly. So what can we do to help? Throughout this series, I've been determined to give you all an action item that can be done in order to help the species that we're focusing on. This one doesn't have a simple solution. We can't just recycle to fix the problem because it's halfway around the world and it has to do with the actions of other humans. However, that doesn't mean that we are powerless. The zoo that I worked at and who first got involved with Virunga over a decade ago is a small one. We have nowhere near the support or funds of that of San Diego Zoo or Zoo Atlanta or the Bronx Zoo, but that didn't stop the staff that worked there from wanting to make a big impact. At its origin, the fundraising events consisted of only family, friends, and close colleagues by throwing annual parties with silent auctions with all the proceeds going towards the rangers. Before the zoo had gotten involved, the rangers had not been paid a salary for nearly 10 years, despite the dangerous jobs they perform, and so funds went towards paying them salaries. Following years, funds went towards paying for uniforms, boots, and other protection from patrol. $350,000, and a decade later, this little community of people who just wanted to help make a difference for the rangers and Virunga National Park have been able to raise funds to improve water sanitation, to provide tents and rations, to restock pharmacies, to help purchase an entire surveillance plane so that the rangers could get off the ground and therefore more protected from poachers who would be on foot, to help support the widows and the families of the fallen rangers through the Fallen Rangers Fund, and to, in most recent years, purchase Land Rovers in order to help boost ecotourism and bring people to the park to help support it. Okay, I'm trying to regain my voice a little bit here and get through this last little bit. That little zoo has accomplished a hell of a lot through a grassroots effort, starting from nothing, in order to support a conservation organization that is on the other side of the world. So my ask to all of you this week is that if you are not in a place to donate yourself, or even if you are, please share this video or just the story of the rangers and the mountain gorillas with a loved one that you think might really gravitate towards this effort. I also highly recommend watching Virunga and or Virunga Gorillas in Peril on Netflix to learn more about this if you're curious about more of the specific details surrounding this topic, or if you're really ambitious, find another organization in need of outside help. and start your own grassroots effort to help raise funds for them throughout your own community. Also, most of you who are watching are artists, and zoos hold many fundraisers throughout the year for various causes and are often in need of artwork for silent auctions. So you can actually contact your local zoo to see if they are in need of such a donation. When I worked full-time, I would donate my art or my photography and then attend the events and also bid on whatever I could afford. But now, of course, I can't afford a financial donation, but I still donate many pieces of artwork every year to zoos across the country. I know that I probably missed something important to talk about or just something else that I wanted to touch on, but I spent about 4 hours researching this voiceover, so I'm going to go ahead and call it a wrap at this time. But if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below, or if you want to know more about a certain aspect of this issue that is going on. I hope that this video has helped inspire you to think outside the box on creative ways that you can help donate to worldwide conservation efforts through either financial means or by your artistic ones, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. If you're not already subscribed, make sure to hit that little red button and ring the bell if you'd like to see more from this series and other watercolor tutorials. Until next time, merci.